for tuning in to Betsy's Building Brands podcast. If you're interested in being a guest or having your business advertised on our podcast, please send an email to podcastmanager@bestiesinbiz.com. After the show, don't forget to head over to Facebook and Instagram to subscribe to our page, Besties Building Brands.
We've all heard it before. Black don't crack. But what it can do is look ashy and dull and just as horrible and wretched. But not with Go Beautiful. Shop today. GoBeautiful.com. That's Go Beautiful with 2 L's.com with luxurious vegan skincare. No sulfates, no parabens, no carcinogens, and eco-friendly. Get beautiful, honey.
Get beautiful, honey.
Yeah, so beautiful.
Don't get me to
the show, everybody.
Welcome.
So today we have a very interesting and different topic. And it just stemmed from me just researching different shows and different podcasts and just really realizing that our Black women and just women in general are not protected out here. We have a lot of trauma and a lot of things that we are subjected to, and we don't get the same support as men. So we have Crystal the Connector. If you watch our show, you already know who she is, but today she is going to be the interviewee, and she's going to be talking about her experience with being kidnapped. And as you saw from her commercial, she is the owner, CEO, founder of Go Beautiful with 2 L's. And then we have Miss Taryn. She's going to share her experiences as well. And she is the owner of Dream Launch Lab. But I'll let them tell you more about their business before we get started. So Crystal, you go ahead and start. Introduce yourself. Tell us about your business. Let's just start there. About your business, and then just tell us a little bit about yourself in general.
Hello, everyone. I am Crystal. You've seen me. You love me. You want me in your life. I started Go Beautiful Skincare because I am a cancer survivor, and a lot of the products that were on the market have a lot of chemicals in them that causes diseases and have a horrible effect on our bodies. So my skincare line is an anti-aging skincare line because we all want to keep this glow, keep this looking and not cracking and slacking. And it has that foaming face wash, moisturizer, day cream, night cream, and my wonderful CC serum. And I want it to be for, and even men can use it. And I just want women to know that there are other products out there for them that can help their skin. And I have 4 daughters too, and I'm teaching them to take care of their skin now because it's hard to fight wrinkles when you have them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And Taryn, tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
My name is Taryn, and I am the owner of Dream Launch Lab. The last time I was on this show, it was really funny because I didn't have a business name, a website. I didn't know what I was doing, but I figured out that I'm pretty good at building websites and marketing materials. So I'm now the owner of Dream Launch Lab, and I really like helping other Black women get their business vision on an e-commerce store and make it look the way the traditional commercial brands look and not gaudy and all that. My goal is really to take people's passions and to turn it into a national brand for them.
Okay.
That's good.
All right. And Rajay, you can introduce yourself. You should know her by now. She's been on the show as a guest and also as our podcast manager, but she is also a business owner. So we're going to make sure we shout her out too.
Hey guys, it's Rajay. I am the owner of Complicated Styles, which is a clothing brand that lets you style the way you want to. So check me out. But I am also the main job here is podcast manager. So if you're trying to be a guest, you want to learn more, hit me up. Let me know.
Okay. All right. So again, our topic, we're talking about being kidnapped, which was shocking to me when I asked the question. I really didn't think I was going to get any responses. And I'm like, Crystal, I want to talk about kidnapping, and I want to see if anybody's been kidnapped. But she was like, I've been kidnapped. I'm like, whoa, what? You've been you've been kidnapped. So let's just talk about it. Just tell us a little bit about your experience, and what happened.
Well, I can say I was young then because I'm seasoned now, and it was an ex boyfriend. We It was over for me, but not for him. I was living in Ohio. I had packed up and was ready to go. My friend, God rest her soul, she passed away a couple years back. But I was staying with her until the next morning because she got some friends and we all moved the stuff out my apartment into the U-Haul truck. And I like to drive when the sun is high, so I said I would sleep at her house and I would get up early in the morning. Somehow he found out where I was at and he came and he said he made a whole bunch of ruckus and everything. And he said he wanted to talk. And she told me not to go, girlfriend. She was like, B, don't go. And I said, he said he just want to talk. I don't want to cause any trouble between you and the neighbors. And he was zooted and polluted out of his head. So when I get outside to talk to him, he pulls me on the side of the U-Haul truck and he pulled out a gun. And when he pulled out the gun, he made me get in the car. There was a car on the other side of the U-Haul truck. He made me get in the car and then he drove off. When he drove off, my girlfriend was calling the phone and he wouldn't let me answer the phone. He wouldn't let me, I tried to jump out the car. He wouldn't let me jump out the car. He drove for, I don't know, about an hour and then he pulled into a motel. When he pulled into the motel, he must have already had the room because he pulled straight up, went into a room, um, had the key and everything, and um, held the gun on me, told me I wasn't leaving him, told me I wouldn't see any of my family, and how just how could I leave him, and then he raped me while he kept talking. He was like I said, he was zooted and polluted out of his head, so he was just talking real crazy. And every time I tell the story, I get so angry. I was really angry. I wasn't scared. I was just very angry. Like, how dare you? And after he finished, he said, "Well, we're leaving." I thought he was going to take me back to my girlfriend's and leave me there, but he didn't. At this time, my phone was really going off. It was the police calling my phone. It was his parole officer calling the phone. It was my girlfriend calling the phone. He was highly agitated, and he kept hitting me on my arm and in my back, and I couldn't understand why he kept hitting me on my arm and my back. He made me drive the car, and when we got to where the U-Haul truck was, he grabbed me out of the U-Haul truck, threw me into the U-Haul truck, and pulled the gun on me and told me to drive, or he would blow my brains out. When I just said okay. Started. Now I was thinking that since everyone was calling my phone, like somebody had to be around, somebody had to be close to, you know, save me. Nobody, nobody was around. Nobody. The police wasn't there. My girlfriend, I don't know. She said she was out driving around trying to figure out where I was, and we started driving. We drove from Ohio all the way to Philadelphia. It was on Crime Stoppers. It was on America's Most Wanted because he was a felon. He was a fugitive. He had a parole officer. When we got to Philadelphia, I was trying to figure out like how to get away from him, and I didn't want to get anybody else involved. I didn't want to get my family involved. My grandmother, she said, "Crystal, I know something's going on, and you're going to tell me, but I'm a wait until you tell me." And I was like, "Oh, okay, Grandma, it's fine." And I had a family member that was on the Philly PD, but he was nowhere around. And I knew I had to get him out and get him away. So he needed money. And I told him, "Oh, you know what? We have to go back to Ohio because the apartment complex owe me some money. It's like $500." So he said, "If we go back, we're both going to die. And I was like, oh, it's fine. It's fine. You're not going to die, you know. And uh, he got back on the bus to Ohio. And when we got close to Ohio, he started to get really agitated and he kept looking around and looking around, knowing that somebody was there. And I was secretly texting, I had a burner phone then. I was secretly texting my girlfriend, like, hey, we're just passing this stop. When we pulled into the bus station in Ohio, he jumped out of the back door of the bus and started running. But when he started running, you just seen everything light up like Christmas lights. There was like 100 police cars there. There were sirens. There was an ambulance because my girlfriend told him that he had hurt me, and they had the police came on and escorted me off and into the Greyhound bus station, and they caught him. They caught him, and my girlfriend was there, and they were. It was really crazy that time because the police made it seem like it was me, that I was harboring a fugitive, that I drove him and was trying to hide him, and it was all made up. But thank God his parole officer was like, no, I know her. She's a very hardworking woman. She's not like this. And her girlfriend was very adamant. And they called me right away when this had happened. And the police were interrogating me that it was made up, that I made him come with me. And they couldn't believe that this was happening. They asked where the gun was. I said, I don't know where the gun is. He only showed it to me when he was threatening me with it. I don't know where he put it or where it's at. And then when we were in the room, they made me take off my jacket and lift up my shirt so they can see the bruises. And at that time, I didn't really think nothing of the bruises because in my head I just had to get him away, and I knew he was hitting me, but it wasn't really registering. And my girlfriend, she said my arms were all black and blue, my back was all black and blue. And I said, yeah, because he kept hitting me in my back, and I couldn't understand why he kept hitting me on my back and my arms. And there was a reward. My girlfriend, she got the reward, but she was also pregnant, so I told her to keep the reward for her and the baby. And that night, I got back on the bus and I came back to Philadelphia and never went back. And that's been 20 years ago.
How long had you been with him before that happened?
Before that happened, I had been with him for a year and a half. And it was a year and a half, but it wasn't a good year and a half. There was always he was, always up and disappearing. He was cheating, and I was in my young 20s.
Like,
So
was it an abusive relationship, or was that
it
like
wasn't. He wasn't. That was the first time. He wasn't physically abusive. He was mentally abusive.
Mm-hmm.
He was mentally abusive. Like he would leave for days at a time and not come in, not come in. He would take my money. He would only come when, of course, when I got paid, and he would take the money and be at the bars, be at the club, getting high. He would tell me that nobody would want me. He would tell me that I was the only one. He was the only one that wanted me. He would take the car keys so I couldn't go anywhere. He would, and when he was home, I couldn't answer the phone. We couldn't go anywhere. We had to stay in the apartment. So it was a mental abuse, but he never put his hands on me. We didn't physically fight.
Mm.
Is there something that happened in his life that triggered him and made him feel like he had to do something? Like when you left him, do you think that's what triggered him going? I'm not gonna say going crazy, but snapping, kind of.
I think it was a long. I did not know this at the when we first started going together. I would say about a year into our relationship, I found out that he was snorting cocaine, and he was on cocaine, and that was behind the disappearing acts. That was behind his like he would always switch, like this Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And I was the primary source of income. He wouldn't get a job and couldn't get a job at the same time, if that makes sense.
Mm.
And by me leaving, that I feel like it was his. He no longer had the purse. He no longer had the money. He no longer had someone a warm place to come because he was staying with me. And he came from a long line of drug abuse in in his family, and I really wish that family members would be more honest with their and I know it goes without saying, be more honest with, when they know the person is a family member is on drugs and acts a certain way, and but no one told me that he was this way and he was like this until it happened. And then his mom was very vocal, and his sister, and his like I got tons of phone calls afterwards, and I was like, well, where were y'all when this was going on? Because know,
What made you stay um with him? With the way he was acting, like what kept you around? Do you think it was because you were younger?
um we talked about in one of our in our podcast when we talked about mental health
Mhm.
and the grieving process. I had my aha moment that for me, I was attaching on to something that was I wanted to attach on to something that was living because I just lost my daughter. She was 9 months old.
Mhm.
And I met him while she was dying.
Mhm.
And I was attaching myself to something, someone live, something living, and something to hold on to because I was in a very dark place, a very dark place. And not that I couldn't have left. Once I was, I was in, like I said, I was in a dark place. And once I realized that I can't keep doing this, that's when I packed up my stuff and I was leaving.
Mhm.
And and being in a relationship when you're going through your own shit,
Mhm.
I really wasn't paying attention to him and what was going on. Yeah, I knew he wasn't there and he would disappear, and I knew he was cheating, but I didn't really care because
Mhm.
I was, like I said, I was in a dark place. And once
Some
I
stay way longer than a year. They stay in worse situations for 5, 10, 15 years. So that's commendable that you said to yourself after, about a year and a half, I'm done.
you know
I can't do this.
there's nothing like a grandmother's prayer. I was talking, and I talked to my grandma, God rest her soul. I talked to her all the time. Every time I would, call her, she felt, and sometimes she felt something, she would call me and be like, you okay? You was heavy, you was on my mind, I was thinking about you. And the one thing that made me pack my bags, I had a conversation with my grandma earlier in the week when she was just like, Crystal, don't you just want to be happy? Because she could hear I was not happy. She could hear it in my voice. And I was like, yeah. She said, well, come on home. Come on home so you can be happy. And I was like, I want to be happy, Grandma. I do.
Mm.
And I just got a U-Haul truck, packed up the truck, and that was uh, the the moment for me where my grandma asked me if I wanted to be happy, and I
Wow.
did.
Crystal, you are so strong. Like you've been through so much and you're still able to smile. Like that is a blessing in and of itself.
I
Taryn.
told my when I was telling my kids real quickly when I was telling my I told my kids this story last night because they never heard of it, and then when I posted on my page for the people to listen because I would be talking about it, people were shocked, like, "Oh my God, we've been through all this and you never said anything." And I was like, "Cause I had stuff to do." And when I told my kids, they thought it was when I was 17. I was like, "Yeah, no, I was in Germany at 17. No, it wasn't." They said, "Oh my God, mommy, you weren't scared. I would have been so scared." I said, "You know what? I didn't have time to think about being scared. I was very angry. I was in an angry place when my daughter died. This nigga was doing this stuff to me. Oh, you can censor, you can bleep it out if you have to, podcast manager. And how dare he do this? I was very angry. And then when he threatened to kill me and take me away from my family, and then he raped me, I just got angrier and angrier by the second. Like I really I know it was, God watching over me because that night could have went the way he wanted to, where I wouldn't be here. And to tell you the God's honest truth, I was with the shits. I was with it. If you gonna take me, okay. Because I was,
What
like I said, I was in a very dark place. But I told my kids because they, walk in and out when we're on the podcast, and I want them to be like,
Right.
so yeah.
was this pre-military?
This was after the military.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I got out the military in 98, and this was 99 to 2000.
Do you think if
Wait
you had
till she does the show about her military experience. This girl has been through so much. We'll save that for another show, but good grief. Wait, you had another question?
What are you saying,
oh,
Jay?
do you think that some of your strength came because you were in the military, or do you think that if you hadn't been, it would have been a scarier moment for you?
That had some to do with it, because when you're in the military, they break you down and build you back up, mentally, physically, emotionally. And like Khadijah had been saying, I had been through a lot just in the service, and I was in the service for 10 years. And being a female, and you can imagine, being a female, male dominant, and also the field I was in, male dominant. And it does have that effect on you where you cannot, show the enemy weakness. And you also have to, as going along with the military training, you have to know your opponent. You have to know what you're up to, what their strengths and weaknesses are. And I think for me, with every relationship I've been in, I have a very good eye as far as um, knowing who they are and how to handle them and deal with them, and what to do and what not to do, and to maintain the resolve. So that did have some factor into how I handled the situation and why I was so angry.
Yeah. Well, I can say I don't think I could. I don't even put myself in your shoes. That's a
And I
story.
told I tell my daughters all the time, you never know what you're going to do in a situation until you're in it. Because I never, when Khadijah talked about the topic, and I had to, it was like, oh, I was kidnapped. I mean, it's not, my face was on the side of a milk carton. I wasn't a child, but I was an adult, and and kidnapping happens to adults, and taking someone without their permission is kidnapping.
Yes.
And that's
So,
why, like, the topic is kidnapping, and then too, just protecting our women. Like, it's ridiculous that all of that was even able to happen, and nobody, was able to step in or pick up on, what was going on. And I'm, interested to hear Tara's story because hers is a little different. Just, how everything came about. I'll let you, tell your story. Just tell us, what happened.
Um, Unfortunately, throughout my childhood, my mother was very sick, and we were very poor. So I had no supervision. I was also on the spectrum, and no one knew. They just felt like Taryn she's a little different. She's a little unique. It was never anything anyone taught me about, like as far as situational awareness or anything like that. So as my mother's condition worsened, I didn't like being at home. So I would literally wander off. Um, I think the first time I wandered off, we lived in Baltimore, and my friend's mom brought me home. I was not aware of what was appropriate as far as time that I should be home, what I should be doing, because I had literally no supervision. So when we moved to Ohio, um, my mother's condition kind of got a little better, but I couldn't cope with what our life had become. So I would again wander off, which led to me being put in foster homes. They wouldn't put my brothers or anything in foster homes because they followed, the rules. They listened. They stayed home. And my foster parents started doing drugs. And they started stealing and from ATMs and doing forgeries and like Bonnie and Clyde type crazy stuff. And we just all got in a car one day and we just traveled around. They would have me go up to ATMs and take stuff out. I didn't know I was missing. I didn't realize I'd been kidnapped. I didn't know what was going on. I think I was 13. I didn't understand what was happening. And so the husband started pimping out the wife. They started pimping me out. Like it just was a really looking back on it now with clarity, because I feel like a lot of my childhood I was in a fog, like my brain to protect myself from everything I was experiencing. It just became like everything was a haze. But looking back on it with clarity, I don't understand how no one like helped me. Even after that situation, I got put in another foster home. And the same thing happened. Like I ran away from that foster home and a guy kidnapped me. Like literally it was a Cincinnati cop. He handcuffed me to a bed in his room in his basement. His mother knew that I was there. She never came down to the basement. I really feel like what you're saying is true. And that's why I keep my daughter so close to me. Like no, there I can't blame my mom because she was sick. My father was deceased. Like who is really there to protect little black girls? And then when your family comes around, it's well, she was the one running away. You know, she must have liked this. She liked being fast. It's never, why is this happening? What can we do? Um, to prevent these things from happening, or how can we help you? I feel like a little black girl is always being bullied by everybody. I feel like everyone is bullying her. Everyone is saying, well, if you get raped, well, you was out there being fast. You should have did this, you should have did that. If you have a baby too young, well, you knew that that dude wasn't this and that. No matter what you do, you don't get the opportunity to be a victim. You're always the aggressor, you're always the reason, it's always your fault. And because of that, no one protects us except us. We're really all we have to protect ourselves. And thankfully, the generation after my mother's generation doesn't see things the same. When we see like these R. Kelly type scenarios, we don't go, oh, 15-year-olds know what they're doing. Our generation knows better than that. We know that this person was a predator and they preyed on this girl. I feel like prior generations really embraced misogyny, and they were brainwashed themselves. So it's interesting to see how society is progressing, but I feel like a lot of people should have been saved and learned.
I think
Um,
I did say, women, why aren't they protected? But when I was researching for this show, it just seems like when it comes to sexual assault across the board, it's the same story though. Like it really is. I watched a story about a guy who was kidnapped. The guy held him for 18 months, was taking them to the stores with them and everything. Nobody said anything. Nobody reached out. And when he went home, they said, why didn't you run away? The police officers. And I want to get back to Crystal when she was talking about the police officers. And this was a white guy. He was like 14. They were asking him, why didn't he run away? You must have liked it. And when he went back to school, the kids at the school were teasing them, calling them all kinds of names. And it was horrible. But when I compared it to the story of it was a white girl, teenage girl, same situation, same situation.
I think that people develop Stockholm syndrome a lot of times for the person who is holding them hostage. In order to cope yourself. You have to develop some type of bond with this person that's holding you. You have to develop some type of emotional attachment to them for yourself, because they're all you have. This person has you in a room, in a place. They're feeding you, they're bathing you, they're your everything at this point. So to prevent yourself from going crazy, you start sympathizing with them. Oh, well, they're doing this because of ABC, or whatever it is you're telling yourself to not go absolutely insane every day. So when you're at the store, you've been programmed to feel like you can't just run off. I mean, in my situations, I didn't know that I was kidnapped. I didn't know what was happening with the couple. With the second situation, I wasn't allowed to leave the house, or I probably would have ran. The first, because I knew at that point I was kidnapped. The first time, I didn't understand what was happening to me. I didn't know. The courts gave me to these people. They were supposed to be my guardians. I didn't think to run off.
And
Um,
then two, if the person is, threatening you, if you leave, this will happen. And then you're a child too. Like that has a lot of role to play in it too. I just don't understand the police officers, their attitude towards the victims. And I think maybe in Crystal's case, I think that might have been because you were a black woman. In that situation, I think they had a lot to do with it. Why am
frustration.
I not the victim?
It's
I have,
frustration.
I've had a couple of run-ins with the men in blue. Okay, I'm a law-abiding citizen. I don't want anybody listening to this podcast thinking that I'm out here riding, dying it out. Every interaction I've had with the boys in blue has always been a horrible experience. Where because I'm a black woman, I've been labeled as the aggressor. I've been labeled as the baby mama. I've been labeled as, and they said this to my face, that I caused it with this kidnapping. They, like I said, they did not. It wasn't a sit down question. Okay, it wasn't a Benjamin Stabler. Okay, Krista, it wasn't Olivia talking to me. It was a white police officer, Officer Opperman. I can say his name, and he said, "So, tell me what really happened." And I'm like, I'm telling him what really happened. So at one point, why did you drive all the way to Philadelphia? Because he had a gun on me. That's why I drove all the way to Philadelphia. Why didn't you pull off? Because he had a gun on me. They made it a scene that I took him with me, that I drove to Philadelphia because I wanted to. I Why didn't I notify the police when I got here? Okay, I have a family member that's a police officer. I did not want my family involved because I didn't want this nut ass around my family. I didn't want them involved because, and it was we were there for, now when I'm this is a shortened version because we're on a podcast, but this ordeal happened over a week. This interrogation at the Greyhound bus station was hours. And if it wasn't for, like I said, if it wasn't for his parole officer, who was also white, and my girlfriend, who was there raising Sam, she was like, F that. I told you what y'all got him, so no, no, no. What you mean? And then the bruises on me. It was, and it was once those two stood up and said, y'all, no, that's not it. She's telling the truth. You're tripping. That's when the other officers and the detective was like, okay, you can go. If it wasn't for them, I probably would have been booked too as an accessory for harboring a fugitive, because they had those out harboring a fugitive, crossing state lines with a felon and a gun that was, they didn't know where that was at. The other interactions I've had with the officers in blue has always been, they come as I was assaulted, but when he walked up to me, which one of y'all was my mom, my sister, and myself? Which one of y'all is the baby mama? It was like, okay, I think y'all need some sensitivity training. None of us here are baby mamas.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And
It's,
it, I don't know if it's, there's there could be a ton of reasons why They need sensitivity training. All the other cases they go to or scenes they go to where it's a domestic situation, yeah, it is that type, but you can't approach everything the same. And here we are today still talking about it. This was my story with Boys in Blue 20 years ago. This is my story with the Boys in Blue. My daughter is 13 now. 13 years ago. This is my situation with the Boys in Blue 5 years ago, and it's always the same. Where they're not coming to your rescue, it's like they're coming to
Hit
as
you.
an exterminator, right?
I think sometimes they also are frustrated. Like when I called the police on my first husband, the first time I called the police on him, they were like, "Leave him right now. He's trash. You know, we looked his record up. You just leave him." The second time, same cops. Why are we still here? I mean, we get that he hit you. Look, but third time, why, man? Like at this point, he's gonna kill you. So, like the interactions I had with the police as a victim more so was frustration because these same cops watched me deal with the same problem over and over and over and over again. Um, and then I think also sometimes they look at these men's the record of the men that we're with, and I think we get judged based off that too. I
Yeah,
think if Crystal, you were in a position where the man was like an upstanding citizen, and it was just like he just went crazy type stuff, they might have approached it differently. But because of the stuff that he was going through, they probably just assumed, hey, she probably Bonnie to his Clyde and they gonna just run from his parole. That's probably the mindset they had, and that's not fair.
Mi-
Um, because
Michelle
that's
said
not what they were doing.
such disrespect and disregard for human concern and care besides unprofessionalism. But that's just like even let's just say something like a customer service position. You get from me, I get the same calls over and over again. I can't get on the phone with the next customer and have an attitude because the customer before me asked me the same question. If I'm in a call center, I'll take 80 to 100 calls a day, and 90% of those calls they're asking me the same thing. How much is my bill? Why do I have a double bill? And I'm frustrated, but I can't do that. So you're dealing with people face to face, manners of the
Hmm.
heart, people, emotions are high. You have to be able to handle that. And this is kind of off topic, but it's the same topic. When you talk about transsexuals and they're being murdered because they disclosed that they were transsexual, or the person just without it, the person that they were with, and then they kill the transsexual. Everybody's like, well, they should have said something. Excuse me, you can't just murder somebody though. Can we talk about the fact that you're a murderer? Like, wait a minute, like you can't just murder somebody. Why is this person the victim? You cannot be a murderer. That is not okay. And it's
People
all
really pick and choose who they want to be the victim. It's
like
really
that is ridiculous.
strange.
That is
Or like with NFL players, if it's a black NFL player and he beats his white wife,
yeah.
she's the victim, poor her. When that black woman was almost beat to death by that man, like I can't believe that there was so little done
Little news.
because she's seen as she was probably the way they're seeing it, she was being aggressive, she was being mouthy, or something derogatory, or that's a stereotype.
And you see it within our own community though. It's not even just like if we take white people out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Black women look at those same videos and say the same thing. Well, she hit him. She
Absolutely.
shouldn't be in the man's face, and he's going to hit you back. Okay, you're right. He knocked her out though. She shouldn't have been in his face, but the same, somebody else, she could do it, and it's oh my god, no. So I don't know if we've all been brainwashed or what the scenario is, but it's definitely black women are always on the last on the totem pole. We're always disrespected. Nobody believes our stories. You wonder.
When have you seen a black woman treated as a victim? Think about the black woman who in California came up missing, who the police literally just lost. How did they lose her? That doesn't make any sense. They took a mentally unstable woman and just lost her.
Mm-hmm.
Like
It's
that, no one still knows what happened to that woman. And she was in police custody and they just let her go. Like we don't get to be victims. No one sees us as victims because we are strong, independent Black women, and we are going to get through this. Blah
Oh,
blah
I
blah.
am
All of that
strong
rhetoric.
in black women.
Like I get tired of that. Like, why do we all have to be strong Black women all the time, 24 hours a day? Be a mule, get out there, do it. Like, why? Why can't we be soft and victims some dang times? Why we gotta be? We don't get to be the damsel in distress either. It's
Well,
all the builder,
I
the
always go back to, do you think it's deeper than that? Do you think it stems from slavery? I think I say that like
yes,
every
I was
show.
about to say,
absolutely.
I
It
feel like
stems from
every show, I
slavery.
don't care what we're talking about. I'm like, do you think it's stems from slavery? But I
You
do,
know,
because the
it
woman that
does
did
because
be
who
strong.
labeled us that? White
Yeah,
people. One of my ex bosses used to tell me that all the time. I would be at work complaining just like the white girls. I hate this job. I hate these calls. I hate these people. I hate everything. And he's like, "You sound like the other girls. You a strong Black woman." I'm like, "No, stop it. That is so racist. Like,
they,
so I don't get to complain."
you know what? I just made a
they,
post. I don't even know if I posted it yet, but when I was talking to Naima, we were talking about just being strong and have to be strong all the time. I'm like, I'm not Superwoman. Like, I feel like I'm more like Batman. Like, I'm smart. I have a couple dollars, maybe some cool friends, but like, I'm not really Superwoman. Like, I need help. Help me. Help me. Like, I feel like I said, I feel like that stemmed from where we had to be. Like they were out there buck breaking the men, trying to break them down, and we still had to be strong. When he came back, we still had to be strong for him, and we still had to take care of our kids, and we
Then
still
there
had
was
to
a
do
war, and we
right.
had to be strong for while they were gone. And then they got
Then
Jim
he came
Crow
back
because
and
we had
beat
to be
you because
strong.
they beat him, and you still had to. So,
And
um,
then they resent us. That's the
yeah,
crazy thing. They resent us for being strong, but everybody wants us to be. It's so, I don't know what to even call it. I can't say interesting because I live it. So I don't think it's interesting. It's crazy.
it's fascinating.
the comment says systematic mindsets and unrealistic idealism. We are human like every other human, and that's true.
When
Yeah.
people always say, "Oh, Crystal, you're so strong. How do you do it?" And sometimes, not even sometimes, I'm gonna tell you honestly. In my head, I'd be like, "What the fuck is you talking about?" I'm strong because I have to be. I'm strong because I have to be. Not because I want to be, not because I choose to be, because I have to be. Because if I'm not, you panty waist little men out here, you backstabbing sisters out here will
The
try
pick
to
me.
break me
Don't
down.
forget the pick
And
me,
I am
Crystal.
not. So therefore I am the strong one, because you said it, and two, because I have to be, because I have children, because let me tell you, I look good in orange if it wasn't for these children, and stripes too, by the way. But I am strong because I have to be. We are strong because we have to be. We are strong because, yes, it did stem from slavery, and it's passed down. Just like all bad traits are passed down, just like the texture of your hair, the color of your skin is passed down, so is that strength and resolve, because we had to be. Because they broke our men down. We had to be out there picking cotton and coming in and feeding children and with children on our back. We had to be when they were stringing us up by the nooses. We had to be in the 70s. We had to be in the 80s. We are the 90s. Here it is, and here it is 2000, and we're still doing the same thing. It's just that in a different time. We are strong because we have to be.
And I don't think it's just slavery because a lot of people I know who are African tell me that, men, they will sit on the porch and drink their palm wine, and the woman is out there planting the food with the baby on her back. And I mean, apparently, we've been having to work our asses off since the beginning of time. So,
Well,
I
I mean, when I say slavery, I'm not just talking about here in the U.S. I'm not talking about just then. I'm talking forever. I'm talking Adam and Eve. I'm talking Sodom and Gomorrah. I'm talking I'm talking Boaz. Okay,
so
but
what do you
I just feel
guys?
like people like the things I have lived. I'll be 50 this year, ladies. 50. Let's get into it because it's going to be a celebration. And when I was laying on the couch thinking about this podcast today and just thinking about my life, I have lived my life. Still living, But I have lived, and I've lived through some hard crap. I done lived through some easy crap. I done lived through some joys, some pain, some deaths, some lives, some marriages, some divorces. And guess what? I'm going to do some more. And with each thing that I've been through have been an experience, and it's taught me so much about people. It teaches me daily about myself, and it teaches me daily on how I need to stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves. That's our initiative for Go Beautiful Idea. The women who are intellectually disabled, who can't speak up for themselves, who don't have no one, or who has someone and don't know what to say, or who's scared. I have to stand up for my children, my beautiful daughters, my son. I have to stand up for the women who are like me, who want to be like me, who choose not to be like me, who are going through the same struggles, just aren't vocal about it or can't be vocal about it. And the strength that they see in me, I want them to see in them. Not all of it, because some of it doesn't apply. Let it fly, but just a little of it. If I can go through divorces, if I can go through being raped and kidnapped, if I can go through burying 7 children, if I can go through, you know, uh, having children who have an autoimmune disease, having a son who's autistic and nonverbal, and still smile, then for me, that's the strength that I am exuding out that they see that will help them. Come on, Chokeaholic. Come on, Chokey.
Sorry, I thought I muted myself.
Terry, you about to ask a
Girl,
question?
it's
Hmm?
fine.
I said, were
It's
you about to ask a question?
I was just I was thinking that it's it's really interesting how everyone has had a different journey through life, but yet here the four of us are smiling and talking about it. Not one person has cried. Um, Strength looks different in a lot of different ways. But I was wondering, what do you guys think about the whole wife school thing? If you're not familiar with it, it's a woman named Ro, and she has wife school for Black women. She says that we are masculine, we are too strong, and to find husbands, we must become weak Black women. Like she wears T-shirts to say I'm a weak Black woman, and um, yeah.
First,
So
dad would literally. I mean, I don't condone abuse, but he would probably die if I ever back down to make a man feel better. I mean, to this day, my dad's always like, have a separate bank account. Make sure, you can do bad all by yourself. So for me to hear that, she has a
women
whole
are paying her
what's that?
$6,000 to find husband.
We're actually talking about that on Thursday. We're going to be kind of talking about that topic a little bit. So everybody make sure you tune in on Thursday because we're definitely going to be talking about that. But just my opinion, real briefly, because I don't want to,
I'm
talk
sorry, I didn't know you were
the show.
talking about it on Thursday.
But I personally feel like I think a lot of women like that is their ideal life for whatever reason. They feel like you have to, whether you go to school or not, whatever it is, but the whole goal in life is to get married and have a family. Some women feel that way. And so I can see them paying for something like that because you have women in their 30s and their 40s who aren't married and they really, really, really want to be married. And then you have some who don't care. I think it may be just about your upbringing. Like
Yeah.
I feel like it somehow it got mixed up. Like I come from the school of thought that I am the prize. Like I am the prize, so you have to seek me out and being with me is,
A
that
privilege.
that's your
Yeah.
gift to your life. Like you should want to find a wife like me all your life. That's how I feel. And now I'm realizing that everybody doesn't feel feel that
No.
way, and that they're like, I'm single. I want to be married. And I'm thinking to myself, why? Like I never wanted to be married. It happened twice though. I
Right.
it wasn't like a goal. Like my goal was never to be married. I never had aspirations of having a husband. Like I just never did. And
Did you
that's
have a dream wedding in your head? Like, did you
no.
want to have a dream? Like me either. Like, I always thought that was weird. Did you? Do you guys have like? Do you have a dream wedding in your head of like a unicorn and all this stuff?
I had it the past year. I was trying to drill into my boyfriend. Wait till y'all hear my story. Like I told, I proposed twice. Yeah, I want to get married. That was my like. I got set goals. I'm getting married. I'm getting my house. I'm having my kids. Did nothing go that way, and I'm still wanting to get married. But I don't want to get married to the point where I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to. I just know that that's a part of me that I want. But to go out and devalue myself to get married, it's not happening. If I don't get married, I'm not going to cry about it. I mean, I'm going to call up Crystal about how I get me some dues, but I don't put too much emphasis on that.
Michelle said me either. Miss Michelle said me either. Yeah, like I don't know. Like I said, that's funny because I never knew that it was like, I always thought like, hey, like you should want me because I'm just that, dope. I'm just, you should want me and you should want to marry me. And I'm going to say no or yes, or I want to, I just never had that. When I grow up, I want to have this. I want this dress to be like this. I want the cake to be like this. It just never was a thought.
Yeah. I've never, as many times I've been married and divorced, I've never envisioned being married or what the wedding would look like. Like I've heard stories and I was like, yeah, no, just, you, and then I was
I
like, you want to
feel
get
like
married? All right. There was no oh, I need this dress, I need this cake. And for me, the first time I got married because I thought that's what you had to do to have sex. So after I had sex with him, I was like, okay, we can break up now because not a fan. But anyway, so
girl, look, that's better than I got married because my first husband was cute. And that was it. He was cute.
Well, that's the first time you get married. The first time for love, and the second time for money, right?
Well, yeah, but
Or get
see,
married for money all the time. I
the
don't
second
know.
one got deported. So it
Okay,
wasn't nothing I could do about that, you know.
so
I
it's
you
didn't
funny.
want to
married
marry
just
him
for his
It's
anyway.
money.
funny. It's funny because
I think that's why I married him. For some
this
money.
last time I got married, a friend had slid into my DMs and he was like, "Please tell me you get married for money and not for love because love is overrated and there's some other stuff." But I was like, "Oh,
Yeah,
yeah."
we get married for money all 2021. So we're going to wrap the show up, but I want everybody to make sure that you check out their businesses and support, their story, that they're passionate about what they do. So one more time, just go around, shout out your business, where they can find you, and then our podcast manager is going to tell you how you can contact us. Tara, you can
Okay.
start.
um. Okay.
You got any
So.
specials going on? What do you want the people to know?
All right. So I do have a special right now. It's for people who are just starting out. It's called the website starter package. It's only 175. They will get a e-commerce website on the Wix platform. I'll set everything up for them, and I will show them how to maintain their back end themselves. We also have website templates coming up, which Khadija has been telling me to do probably for a year. So I'm finally gonna do it, and there'll be some templates that you can buy as well. So
And
yeah,
you can, yep,
dreamlaunchlab.com.
dreamlaunchlab.com.
Yep.
All right. And Rajay, what you
Um,
got going on?
well, first, if you're interested in being a guest on the podcast, definitely email me at podcastmanager@bestiesandbiz.com and I'll get you over some information. So you got to make sure you fill out this form, you guys. We want to see y'all's faces, but if we don't get them forms, we can't see y'all's faces. And then definitely, if you're looking for logos on your shirts or anything like that, or you're just looking for a new style, a new head wrap, a new bonnet, some candles, I can keep it going wherever you need. Hit that link right there. It's complicated.com. I can do it. If it's complicated, bring it my way. If it's easy, send it my way.
All right, and it's complicated.com with the K.
Yes.
And podcast manager at bestiesinbiz.com if you're interested in being a guest on the show. Comments, support, anything like that. And then Crystal's going to talk about her business, and then our project we're working on that we need fundraising dollars for.
Okay, great. For the month of May, see, this conversation putting me forward to the future. For the month of March, it's Women's History Month, and we're making history every month. So use the code WOMEN, WOMEN, and you will get 25% off your purchase at gobeautiful.com. That is GOBEAUTIFULL, two L's.com, for all of your skincare needs to make that melanin pop. And our fundraising, we are definitely needing more fundraising, more donations. If you have a grant and you're not using it, please pass it on to us for our Go Beautiful idea. It is IDEA, IDEA, which stands for Intellectual Disabled Education slash Employment Agency, where we help the individuals, the young adults who are living with the intellectual disability, that could be autism, Down syndrome, or slight MR, obtain gainful employment. So please donate. Every dollar helps. You can click the link in our bio to do so. If you have any type of ideas for a fundraiser, if you have any type of idea to help us further this mission, we would greatly appreciate it. Me love you long time.
Okay, and we will be offering advertising spots on the show if you want your business shouted out by our hype man Crystal with her. She has a sexy, soulful voice. She can shout your business out. Make sure you hit us up in our inbox or our email. And thank you guys for joining the show. Thank you for being so transparent and sharing your story. I hope it helps someone feel confident and comfortable and encouraged to know that there is something on the other side of pain and trauma. You women are out here killing it, crushing it, living your dreams, and you can too. So thank you guys.
Good night.